Well, record low unemployment, a booming stock market, and a prolonged real estate boom. February feels like so long ago. A month and a half into this pandemic, and life for us has changed forever. On the front page centerpiece this week, disrupted. Business leaders are grappling with decisions that seemed unthinkable weeks ago. There is some good news. People are starting to receive their stimulus checks. Ohio and Indiana want to start reopening businesses May 1st, but with strict rules. Masks and social distancing might become normal in your workplace, but stopping the economic bleeding is a whole other task. This week, the Courier is kicking off a series profiling local business leaders as they navigate through this crisis. Today, we're focusing on restaurants. Courier publisher Jamie Smith kicks off our coverage with Brittany Ruby Miller, president of Jeff Ruby Culinary Entertainment.
Thank you, Kyla. Brittany, thank you so much for being in the studio with us today. I know you are super busy at this time, and I appreciate you talking to us. Now, I know the COVID-19 crisis has been very hard on the restaurant industry, including your family restaurants. Can you tell us a little bit of what the last couple of weeks have been like for you guys?
Yeah, no, Jamie, thank you for having all of us on your show. We really appreciate it. The last few weeks have been a whirlwind. It's drinking from a fire hose. It's very emotional roller coaster because first and foremost, we furloughed so many people who we love, and then also trying to keep a company afloat, and then trying to educate yourself and completely understand how the stimulus package applies to restaurants, what we can do to tailor this and hopefully carve out restaurants so that we get what we need. And so it's a lot of communication. It's been a lot all at once, but I've never worked so hard to go backwards in my entire life. But I hope that through this, there's going to be good that comes out of it. And so we've formed this mighty group in Cincinnati. We believe that if we go to the senators and then we send these letters and we make the asks, that coming together from a united front really. And then we've been told that that's the best way to do it. And so, we
all know restaurants are so important to our industry, both in terms of workforce, but even more importantly, they supply something like over 50%, 51% of food source. Can you give us some more impact on the industry and tell me why this federal relief is so important to restaurants?
Well, the relief is critical because we were the first ones to have this Band-Aid ripped off, where some businesses still have revenue coming in. The majority of restaurants effectively overnight went to zero revenue. That just doesn't happen in business every day. So the only thing that's going to keep a company afloat is cash. Cash is king. And so when you look at the industry and you consider 10% of the workforce, the U.S. workforce is made up of restaurant people, and then the ancillary businesses around that. You've got farmers, suppliers, vendors, food and beverage, vendors. It really takes it up to about 20%. So you've got 20% of the U.S. workforce. But what's even more concerning, if you can believe it or not, because this is essential to living, is the food supply chain. And grocery stores are overwhelmed. You've got food vendors that are overwhelmed. The farmers, they're scratching their heads going, it's what do they do? And restaurants are still an avenue for people to get food, which we need. So for us, the logic is yes, airlines are important, but the hospitality industry and the food service industry specifically is really important, and it's critical. It's critical to the health of our country.
Obviously, you're advocating on behalf of your restaurants, your family's line of restaurants, but as well as for all those others in Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, all your peers out there. What is it you want to tell Congress that how they can really help you guys?
Yeah, so far the conversations have been good. I think it's a great start to any business plan. You have to cross the T's and dot the I's. So it brought some immediate comfort that the stimulus package, this bill was passed. And so now we say to Congress, sit down with restaurant folks and see how this specifically applies to them. Unfortunately, the PPP does not make sense. So yes, for us personally, we have been granted the loan. We got the application in. That was cumbersome. That was convoluted. Cost a lot of money in legal and CPA fees to even get that thing submitted correctly because it's first come, first served. So that's the first scary thing. But then when you look at the loan forgiveness piece, you want it to be forgiven, right? You want this to be essentially a grant. And so 8 weeks from the time you close your loan, 10 days after you close your loan, you got to burn all this cash. 75% of it has to go to payroll. And, you know, I joke, is my sushi chef or my broiler chef going to be cooking for a ghost? We're not even open. So
Right.
how do you have 8 weeks where we're burning 100% of this payroll compared to the year before? Because that's how they get the full-time equivalent, the FTE average, just doesn't make sense. And I think it had very good intentions. And so now's the time that we sit down and we say, here's how this works for restaurant people who basically, restaurateurs, chef owners, who overnight had their revenue go to zero. And now we're going on about a month with no revenue, no relief, no capital from our government.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you say they're listening. I mean, I think I feel fortunate that the leaders and what I'm watching, Ohio and Kentucky, I feel like they have been doing the best in the country and making some sense. So tell you what, we're going to take a brief break, and then we're going to have two of your other restaurateurs in town come on and talk to us a little bit more.
So much important information in that interview. Thank you, Jamie.